Well, Sean Carney has been a leader in the pro-life movement since he was a college student, and now he's taken on the tough discussions that conservatives need to have in a post-Roe v. Wade America. He's the president and CEO of 40 Days for Life, author of the new book, What to Say When, Part 2, your proven guide in the new abortion landscape. Here's my conversation with Sean Carney. Sean, welcome. Good to have you back.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
That is a mouthful. What to Say When 2 is the second version of this. But what is the challenge today? Because there are so many people who are angry about abortion. Either they're angry for it, they're angry against it. How do we get to where we can have a rational conversation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And we wrote the first What to Say When in 2021, and it quickly got dated with the overturning of Roe.
Yeah.
So people said, what do we say now that everything is, you know, there's so many new arguments, there's so many new myths, and anger has replaced. There was a time where the pro-abortion movement was trying to be reasonable, and that was Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Safe, legal, and rare.
Right.
He's from a place called Arkansas. And when he ran for president, as you know, he said, I don't like abortion, so I want it to be safe, legal, and rare. And that's a joke now. Now it's abortion at 40 weeks. It's infanticide. It's miscarriage is the same as an abortion. And the loudest people and the craziest people who support abortion are the voices. And to some level, that's to our advantage in day-to-day conversation.
You know, there's been so much misinformation, one of which is that the Supreme Court banned abortion. No, they didn't. All they did in overturning Roe v. Wade was give it back to the states where people vote whether they want it or not and how much of it they want or don't want. But it's now left to each individual state. That's it. That's, in some cases, there are more abortions than there were because of a state that decides they want more.
Yeah, in some of those states. And I mean, overall, we have 25 states that have passed, you know, pro-life laws since the overturning of Roe compared to 7 that have passed pro-abortion laws. And so we're winning on that battle. But yeah, Trump didn't overturn it. The voters didn't overturn it. The Supreme Court corrected their error. It's the second time they dehumanized a segment of Americans. They did it the first time with Dred Scott with slavery, and then Roe v. Wade, and they did the right thing. They corrected their error and sent it back to the states, and the states decide. And we see some states, New York and California, you don't need a doctor. You can have an abortion up to 40 weeks. If you survive the abortion, we won't do anything for you. You're on your own. And then we have places like where I live in Texas that's abortion free. And so the states are deciding, and like Reconstruction, it's going to be messy before it gets better.
There seems to be a misunderstanding, too, that Roe v. Wade was the Holy Grail. Right. And I've said for decades, been in the pro-life movement for 50 years, and I've said that, frankly, Roe v. Wade overturning is not really our goal. Our goal should be to establish the personhood of every unborn child from conception. That's the transformation when we really get somewhere. Will we ever see that?
I think so. I think so, because this is like halftime, that we had to get rid of Roe first, but we're headed towards the 14th Amendment. It's not sustainable. You know, we're living in this schizophrenic view of the human person where you get to live amongst us in Tennessee and Texas and Alabama and Georgia, but you don't in California and New York. And that didn't work. And eventually it became a moral issue, and Northerners, thank God, couldn't sleep at night and know that there was slavery in the South. It was no longer, well, I don't have a plantation, I don't need cotton, I don't know what it's like. That no longer sustained them. It became a moral issue. And we're not going to have a civil war or anything like that, but the idea that you can have people's dignity recognized in half the states and not the other half isn't sustainable.
What about younger people? Because, you know, we have this perception that young people are very much for abortion and older ones are not. My own experience has been kind of the opposite. A lot of people my age who were young and had abortions when they were in their teenage years very much defend abortion. Younger people are thinking about this more. What's your experience?
You're cracking on the baby boomers again, which is great.
Yeah, but it's the truth.
Generation Z, I have 4 teenagers. Generation Z is the most pro-life generation ever at their age.
Really?
So the boomers were the worst.
Yeah.
And then as every generation turned 18, they got more pro-life. But Generation Z is very unique in that all of them have multiple pictures of their own ultrasounds.
Wow, never thought about that.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think we can honestly say. Science has been the best friend of the pro-life movement that we've ever had.
Completely. And that's why, the day that Roe was overturned, I turned on Fox and I saw, she's a well-known pro-abortion advocate, and she said, I knew this day was coming because the pro-life side became somehow the pro-science side, the pro-free medical side with pregnancy centers outnumbering abortion facilities and 5-1, and the pro-compassionate side. Like, we talked about the woman, we talked about the baby. They just scream about reproductive rights. They exploit, 14-year-old rape victims. We work with 14-year-old rape victims. And there just seemed to be a certain seriousness to this issue that only one side was owning up to, and that was the pro-life side.
And Sean, there's a great irony when people on the pro-abortion side talk about reproductive health. There is nothing reproductive about an abortion. It stops reproduction. It doesn't create reproduction in any way. It seems like we're going to have to take the language back.
Yeah, well, we teach you that too, to go on offense, because reproduction's the problem. That's why we claim we need abortion. That reproductions happen and the baby's alive. And the heartbeat, this is the only scenario where a beating heart is a problem.
Wow.
Heartbeats are good.
Yeah, they are.
We spend a lot of money keeping our hearts beating.
And this is the one medical procedure, the only one, that always results in the death of one of the patients.
It's unsuccessful if you live.
It's tragic. I so appreciate what you have and continue to do. It's a joy to have you here. Great way for us to start this new year. And thank you for coming and talking with us about this important book, What to Say When, Section 2. To keep up with Sean on all of his social media platforms, to learn more about 40 Days for Life, go to Huckabee.tv and you'll find Sean's guest page.